everyone, and welcome to Playwright, a podcast about creating and sharing new ways to play. My name is Ryan Hamann, also called H, but I don't have to be called that today because, unfortunately, Ryan Quintel has died. No, he's just very sick. Actually, that would be really terrible if this did really quickly ramp up in the time in between recording and releasing the episode. But no, he's fine. He's just a bit under the weather this week. And in his stead, we have a frequent contributor. That's not a easy combination of syllables to say. The great Neil Piper.
Hello, everybody.
I felt like you needed a title all of a sudden. I don't know why. I just stumbled into that.
I appreciate it. It's always fun to have a title.
Well, we're recording on Discord, and when we pulled up our Discord window, I saw that the last things that we had written to each other, the last time that we had used Discord to chat with one another was playing Star Wars Battlefront 1 in, Star Wars Battlefront 1 2, the second Star Wars Battlefront 1, in just private rooms with no NPCs or anything, just kind of running around and exploring the world and sometimes shooting each other, sometimes not. Yeah, recently I was playing Star Wars Battlefront 2 2. I was playing against NPCs because I don't really do online. I was discovering that when you play against bots, they drastically reduce the size of the maps. They just kind of close off areas because they think, oh, they're never going to use this in a silly match against bots. Who could ever want this much space? And they end up kind of closing off some of the most interesting portions of the map. And so I'm kind of, as an offline player, I'm just kind of stuck in the most boring, the end of The Last Jedi, this great battle that takes place on the salt planet with the red clay underneath the salt. And it's, making these beautiful colors. And it's this very kind of dazzling atmosphere.
Right.
And so they have you stuck inside of this anonymous cave that all the rebels were hiding out in. So you've got this cool spectacle right outside, but you'll never be able to get to it because you got a big old dumb door in the way.
Well, you can always play Star Wars Battlefront 2 1 and play against 64 bots with the best AI 2004 has to offer.
That's probably still the best way to experience Star Wars Battlefront 2 on PC, unfortunately. Anyways, let's get to some video game pitches today. You are our guest. I would like to give you the choice. Would you like to go first or second today?
Let's go ahead. I'll go second. Let's hear what you've got in the pipeline here.
All right. Okay, so what I want to do is introduce a Scribblenauts-like system of summoning objects via text, but you play the role of a genie who must grant wishes in a dramatically ironic way. So we'll start the clock there.
That sounds like a lot of fun. I've always been a big fan of the Scribblenauts series since the first one. It's always a bit ridiculous to see what type of things you can get to show up to solve the puzzles. So how does being a genie affect the formula for the games?
Well, you are kind of answering requests. It's a little bit less open-ended than Scribblenauts, which I like especially. I think Scribblenauts Unlimited was kind of the height of the series there. I didn't care for Unmasked that much, but Unlimited I thought was really superb. And it gave you a lot of freedom in the ways that you approached the puzzles that it would put out for you. It was kind of like an open-ended Monkey Island type game. And I think as a genie, you would be beholden, of course, to answering very specific requests for people. But I always like this kind of monkey's paw type scenario that genies find themselves in, where they have to grant the wish in a technically correct way, but in a way that makes the wisher regret asking for it. And I've always had this idea in my mind that it would be kind of fun, like a story, to have a genie who's no good at the whole ironic thing, and they're just trying to get better, but they just like grant people's wishes with no downsides, or they'll do like a punishment that's completely unrelated, and all the other genies are just like, this guy again. Come on, get into it. Have some fun.
Are you kind of going around in like a 3D space, meeting people in like an open world, and they're kind of giving a quest for, my cat disappeared. Can you like find my cat? Or like, I want to find true love, but I've been so sad. Could you help fix that for me? And then would it just bring up like a a menu where you could type out a wacky solution like a giant cat or true love is in a situation they didn't expect, or kind of hunt down in the world something to solve their problem, or something like that.
I think as a magical being, you would be kind of summoning all of these things yourself, kind of like the genie in Aladdin, where Aladdin wishes to be a prince and Genie dresses him up and gives him a parade, all out of magic. He creates life, which is pretty significant. That's feels like that should be against the Genie rules, because what happens when, well, you know what, never mind. I think that setting this in 3D would introduce unnecessary complications. As far as the, I think one of the things that Scribblenauts does really well is it has such an immense vocabulary of summonable objects, and it's able to get away with that because it has a very simple 2D art style. It's very quick to draw a lion in that style, and all of the different creatures and objects are all made of pieces that, like the arms are kind of like tacked on, and the legs operate under leg behaviors and everything. And so, it all feels very I don't know what the word is, like everything is made of components and they all kind of assemble together in intelligent ways to instead of having to actually create 3D animations for every conceivable object, it would be a lot easier probably to set it in 2D. Although I don't want to just be like a Scribblenauts ripoff. And also I think a open world would be kind of wasted on a Genie because you're not really in control of where you go. You're kind of stuck to your lamp, or you are tied to the particular master that you're serving at the time.
So as a Genie, you do have, of course, phenomenal cosmic powers. You've mentioned the Genie Council, so would there be some sort of like a rating system for the wishes that you granted? Like, you get a 5-star for granting their request, but a 2-star for the long-term impacts on the rest of the city?
Yeah, I haven't really decided whether. I think you want to strike a balance. Maybe this could be like a Reigns, Kings and Queens type of a quick play type thing, where it dumps you to a menu every time you accidentally destroy the world, or you do something. Like if somebody were to say, I'm completely satisfied, I desire nothing, and you were to summon a black hole, it's like, that's ironic, but it also destroys the entire world, and so you'd be docked points for that, obviously. But you want something that will just punish this one person or the people in their immediate vicinity, rather than completely annihilating humanity. Because then where are you going to get your next master to be spiteful towards?
It's very true. I like the idea of having this as like a kind of a dating app game like Reigns, where you've got a couple different options for how you can grant the wish, and maybe it's like swipe right or swipe left to pick which one you like best, and then it keeps going down the list of consequences from there, and you have to keep picking ones to try to Genie your way either more into or out of the situation.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to keep it open-ended because I think it's fun to think of clever ways to be ironic in a situation, and then to try to suss out, did the developers think about this specific? I feel like I've had that experience before where a game has been open-ended enough to where you get that kind of thing sometimes in text adventure games, or actually weirdly enough you get that in You Don't Know Jack. When you enter certain names, it has a reaction to it, and it's always kind of like, they thought about this name or this combination of names between the players. Like how many of these different jokes did they program into it on the off chance that somebody would name themselves after the Three Stooges,
Right. So what if it's kind of like this rain situation, but it's with kind of like Mad Libs. So there's a fill in the blank section for the sentence of you did X, Y with noun, and depending which noun you put in it, they have to keep that for the rest of the scenario. And maybe there's a bunch of them that are programmed in for certain reactions, and then a bunch of them it's just you've picked a silly word and now you have to live with the consequences.
Maybe you have a certain number of letters to choose from, kind of like Wheel of Fortune. You have to grant 3 wishes, you have a handful of letters, and you have to think about ironic ways to grant, or maybe even genuine ways to grant them. Extra points for irony, but you still get by if it's genuine. And as you use each of those letters, they disappear from your following 2 wishes. So you have to be very economical with the words that you use, and maybe there is like a correct combination. But it's just all about like utilizing limited resources.
Yeah, I think that could work well. That gives a lot of options. But then if you go really big on your first answer, you're going to be limiting yourself for what the next what the next two scenarios could be.
Yeah, and if you have letters left over, then you can apply some adjectives to get some extra points. It could almost kind of turn into like a word game in a way. You know what? That's kind of interesting too, like a crossword almost, but the clues have multiple solutions. Yeah, maybe there's something to that. Maybe we'll pocket that. So this character wishes for something, and you have a great array of directions you can go with it. This would be kind of fun to kind of have it write a little story about the character and what happens to him or her afterwards. And so, based on the wishes you grant, whether they are appropriately ironic or whether they end up making this person rich, it can kind of like shape the world that you are embedded in. And then over time, maybe you're left in your lamp for hundreds of years in between people finding you. You can find references back to the previous people that you had helped or hurt. And maybe if you cause them to get rich and become a king, then they have a city named after them, or there's statues of them around the city or something. I just like this idea of the adventures kind of tying back to each other.
Yeah, I think that would be a fun way to make sure that the choices you make have consequences within the game, and kind of making an Easter egg for yourself of sorts for playing it over and over again. We're
out of time on that one. We're going to have to come up with a name for this, which I haven't done. Let me think. There's has to be a lot of good genie puns.
Could do, if it goes in the word game direction, we could kind of call it wishful thinking.
I like that. That's perfect. Wishful thinking. That's a good one. Wishful thinking, the Scribblenauts-like game coming to your Xbox One next summer, because using a keyboard with a controller has never been more comfortable. All right, Neil, what do you have for us today?
So I've come up with this one a little bit here, so bear with me if it's a little bit convoluted. But
well, that's all right. I sprung this on you at the last minute, so it's okay to come in unprepared.
Good to hear. So this one I think would be a bit fun. So what the number one popular thing among kids these days is being a YouTube star. And a lot of what's popular among a number of games is a procedurally generated scenario or situation or map, like in a roguelike or a game where it is procedurally generated. And what was popular 25 years ago were like a full motion video game, like Marky Mark Make My Video. So what if we did a modern Marky Mark Make My Video, except the clips it gives you are procedurally generated from it reading all of the YouTube videos of popular YouTube stars and just kind of mashing them together and guessing what it thinks people want to watch on YouTube. And it's your job to pick between these kind of crazy clips and put them together into a coherent video that the game thinks, or that your friends think you would want to watch on the internet.
All right, well, let's start the clock and see where it takes us. So now, as you were explaining the whole like YouTuber thing and the procedural generation, I was really hoping this wasn't going to be a procedurally generated suicide forest that you have to navigate.
Oh no, but, too soon.
Yeah, exactly. Is this pulling like actual clips from YouTube, or are these all things that are generated by whatever company is producing this game?
It's hard to say. Part of my inspiration was some of those clips you see where it's like we took every book in a popular series about a young adult wizard and put them together, and this is what it came out with. So it has all of the marks and trappings of a YouTube video, but it might just kind of bounce back and forth between people in the clips, or not necessarily be recognizable as a complete YouTube person, but have most, I don't know, yes and no. That's the short of it there.
Okay.
And I know that doesn't
but
give
you want
much.
to incorporate some sort of a full motion video aspect to it.
Yeah, I think that's a genre that went away for good reason, and it would be pretty silly to bring it back.
I guess I'm still having a hard time picturing like exactly what this looks like. So I feel like you kind of like dodged the question. So are these like actual clips from YouTube, or are these things that are generated for the game specifically? I don't mean to rehash the same thing.
Sorry, I should have had a better answer for you. Let's say they're generated just for the game.
Okay. All right. So you've got your team that's maybe making little like 5 to 10 second clips, maybe accompanying it with noises or the ability to add subtitles or some sort of a creative measure, some way to remix these videos and to reinterpret them. You could provide narration over it, or maybe you're given specific challenges like, we've created this great movie trailer, but we've lost all the footage. All we have left is the audio. So you have to come up with the videos from a random assortment of these clips and arrange them underneath the audio to try to fit with what's going on in the audio.
Yeah, I think that would be a lot of fun with that. Or it has a video, and it's we need this to be marketable to a foreign audience. Here are the subtitle clips we've generated from this. I know you've worked in that space in the past, but that could be a fun way to build that into a game here.
It'd be kind of fun is to take like a reverse of the foreign language translated into English to do English language shows, and you have to translate it for a foreign audience, but you don't speak that language, and so you're just given random phrases and you just drag and drop them onto the scenes that you think they belong in. And then at the end, it kind of like shows you what you actually made the video say.
I think that would be pretty great, because it's the whole point of this is to make a game where it's kind of lampoons the video creating process, and whatever way it can do that would be a lot of fun.
So I like these creative open-ended games. One of the real challenges, though, is that they're difficult to score because computers don't really have a subjective sense of humor, and they might miss something that you're putting down that's actually like really clever. And the way that the Jackbox games get around this is that oftentimes players rate each other's responses as being funny or not funny, which more or less keeps it honest. I mean, people often underestimate my genius, but that's a complaint that's human error, not the fault of the program. Do you see this being something that can be scored by a computer, or does it have to rely on other people?
I think if it were like a Jackbox style game, I think that would provide a bit more entertainment value for the players. But it would, because it is procedurally generated in some sense by the computer, it would be fun for the computer to also give you a score at the end, and either you'd feel it was right on base or it was way off and didn't appreciate you, but there's no way to know why it gave you the score it did.
Just like real YouTube.
Exactly.
That funny Korean man can dance around and get 1 billion views. And my video that I painstakingly created of a band full of Kurt Cobain singing Walking on Sunshine never gets more than 15.
It's a cruel world
There's
out
no
there.
justice in the world. So I do like this as one of the things that the Jackbox games do that's really fun is that, they hide bits of information on every player's phone or tablet or laptop or whatever they're using to play the games, and then they kind of collect them all back up into the main computer and display the results for everyone to see. And so I think it'd be fun because phones have so many more functions than what Jackbox uses them for. They have you can plug in headphones to most non-Apple branded phones. Get into some audio work there as well, kind of secret or from everyone else. And that's something that's not really been used to my recollection.
Yeah, as far as I know, they don't have a lot of ones where you need the headphones, or it would use the camera, or a lot of the more advanced features that we carry around in our pockets. So it could be fun to put those into play in a wacky video creating minigame.
This could work as like a America's Funniest Home Videos type clip show. I guess each video clip that you use has like a tag associated with it, which could be done because the creators of the game are creating all these clips as well, so they know what's in each of them. And so maybe you have like a Max Headroom type of YouTuber host That's kind of speaking procedurally generated lines. I guess the lines would be written beforehand, but like mixed up in clever ways, kind of like the Madden commentators do. Yeah, it'd be kind of funny if it was like very computery though, and very inorganic. Anyways, it would be able to actually introduce each of these different clips or to lead into them, by mentioning appropriate terms. And then it's kind of funny when it turns out to be something completely different or actually appropriate to what the person was talking about.
Yeah, I think that would be fun and go along with the kind of like the YouTube algorithm is pretty infamous at this point for reading videos and turning people's money on and off. So maybe that could be the disembodied algorithm that's reading what the content is and judging whether what is in it before you see what the video is.
It would make sense that you would be able to publish these videos for real after you're done playing the game. It's a way of advertising the game and also a way of like cataloging some of the fun memories you've had along the way. And, there could be entire channels full of just videos that were generated by players playing this game.
That would be pretty meta to have the YouTube channels be built on the video of making videos about YouTube. So
we talked about this as like a multiplayer game. If we wanted to build a single player component into this and maybe have like a career YouTuber over the years, creating content, and maybe sometimes the equations and the algorithms change and you have to kind of ascertain what's going on by doing experiments and adjust to make more money. Maybe you have to follow what's popular in the culture at the time. Maybe it's, I don't know. Maybe there's just like, you can kind of browse other videos, maybe that other players have made at the same point in the career journey and kind of start to notice patterns of what's popular and what's getting monetized and what's not. Because I feel like that's a big job of YouTubers, is paying close attention to what everyone else is doing and either copying from it directly in some cases or using other people's experiments to their own advantage.
Yeah, I think that could be a good aspect of it for a single player mode. The one that just popped into my head is that Mario Party minigame, where it shows the Bowser face or the Luigi face, and then it kind of twists it all in a weird way, and then you have to copy it to get the most points as close as possible. So maybe it shows the the thumbnail clip where it's got the guy's face on it, like, you won't believe what I did with Fortnite, and you have to take your video and pinch it in a way that makes it look as close to that as possible.
I like that. Well, we're out of time. We have to conclude this with a name. Do you have an idea for what you want to call this YouTube simulation game?
No, I'm not sure. I know there's a game out there already called YouTube Simulator, and
it's like YouTuber Life or something like that.
Yeah, and I don't want to just completely rip them off there. The thing I thought of on the way to putting this together was that Sega CD one of Make My Video, a different hip hop one. So I kind of want to call it something like Make My Video, but I need a good intro before that, because otherwise it's just Make My Video. ComputerTube, Make My Video.
ComputerTube, Make My Video. All right.
Yeah.
We can go with that. That will do just fine. Anyways, we go now to a listener submission. This comes from our website's pitch page, which is at playwrightcast.com/pitch. This comes from Spencer Saunders, who we've heard from many times before. He writes in, Nintendo has so much rad 2D Super Mario art that I feel is underutilized. We usually see it as extra background art and stuff, and somewhat recently in as stamps and stickers in games like Mario Kart 8, Super 3D World, and more prominently in the WarioWare franchise. I want an entire game with this delicious art, and what better way to do it than with a Mushroom Kingdom visual novel? Bonus points if I can date Donkey Kong and then wear a hoodie version of the DK Jr. outfit. All right, we will start the clock.
So I'm not super familiar with a whole lot of visual novels, but let's see, does the Ace Attorney series count towards that? Okay.
Yeah, that's a visual novel. I think a lot of visual novels are, I think there's two broad categories. There's mystery games, so you get the Danganronpa and the Zero Escape and Phoenix Wright and those types of games where you're solving mysteries. And then there's dating sims as another one, If My Heart Had Wings and Hatoful Boyfriend and Dream Daddy. I feel like citing parodies more than the actual examples of the genre might speak to my inexperience, but they're out there, sometimes in dubious positions on Steam, from what I've ascertained. But being able to have a visual novel set in the Mushroom Kingdom, that's interesting. Okay, it gives us a setting for our story, but I want to find more ways that we can use this idea rather than just kind of like settling on let's tell a more RPG-like story in the Mushroom Kingdom, because that's already been done with proper RPGs. So let's find creative ways to use the format to enhance this Mushroom Kingdom adventure.
So I think within the Mario games, the RPGs and all of them, there's a mechanic of course, jumping on an enemy's head to defeat them. So I think it could be kind of ridiculous in a visual novel to keep that as one of the primary gameplay mechanics, even if it is a dating situation or a solve the crime situation. Maybe you have to woo your prospective Waluigi by bringing them the right thing or jumping on the heads of him or the enemies or the people that will bring favor to him your eyes. What do you think about that as an option?
Let's see, that's interesting.
Because I don't want to make it too much like a Paper Mario, because that's a big thing there. But where are you going with that one?
A lot of visual novels have a first-person perspective, because then you can really kind of front and center the text box and the character art of the people you're talking to. And I think a lot of the time kind of project yourself into the experience of the character that you're playing as. And so I feel like in that case, jumping on somebody, since everything is like a flat illustration, feels just like another choice that you would be selecting from a menu rather than an actual test of skill and perception and momentum and, all this that goes into an actual Mario jump. And so I think it is fun to bring in the Mario conventions. Like we saw, the Paper Mario series does a really great job of incorporating traditional Mario power-ups and some of the series staples and recontextualizing it for a different genre. So definitely open to that. But I want to find creative ways to use all the aspects that we are choosing to reincorporate rather than just kind of throwing them in the pot and seeing what sticks.
Sure.
But we have, if we want to turn this into a romantic type of game, I think there's a lot of Mario power-ups that could go a long way to bettering your love life. Like I think the mushrooms, for one, there are certain advantages to becoming larger in romantic situations. The fire flower is fun. You could really heat up a situation, maybe use it around the hot tub or something to get it bubbling, or I'm not sure. You could set the mood by lighting some candles or something like that.
Yeah, you just want to make sure you can tell the difference between the super mushroom and the mini mushroom, because if you give that one to your crush, you might never they might not want to talk to you again.
It'd be kind of interesting to meld the visual novel type of game with the dungeon crawler, which is a first-person game set in a similar perspective. We talked about it a little bit last week. Usually set in like a 3D maze type of environment where you just kind of move one step at a time, or you can rotate it. It actually controls very similarly to a text adventure game. I think just navigating through for all intents and purposes, 3D space and encountering characters and having those conversations and connecting with them there kind of gives you a sense of people actually have a schedule and people are doing things. You might miss people if you're not in the right place at the right time, or you might learn to expect somebody at a certain time elsewhere. And this is fun to run into people out in the world. I don't, a lot of visual novels, they tell you precisely where to find somebody at any given time. Persona 3 and 4 and presumably 5, I haven't played yet, do this. They tell you if you want to meet this character, you go here, and that's where they will be. But I don't know, having more freedom of mobility, I think, would be interesting.
Yeah, and there's so many good locations in the Mushroom Kingdom, like your Peach's Castle, your Donkey Kong Country, and those that might be outside of the Mushroom Kingdom, but it's neither here nor there. So I think that would work very well to expand the world and get to explore and see which characters you find, and find ones in unexpected locations.
Since this is sounds like it's made of kind of reused art from previous Mario games, there's really no reason why it would be constricted to Mario art, maybe as DLC or maybe just as like user-generated content. You can pull in artwork from, I see the problem already, but I still think it's kind of fun. We did talk earlier, and I was trying to find the specific episode, but I couldn't find it just now, but we did one earlier on in the Playwright one where we did basically an open source dating game where players can upload their own art and their own stories, their own dialogue trees and everything, and basically put a character out on the marketplace, free marketplace to date and go on these adventures with, which, I think is a fun way of sharing a story that you don't see as often as a lot of other types of mods for games.
Yeah, that's a fun one. I know they have a few ones like that for fighting games where it's just import whatever character and brawl them together, but there, as far as I know, isn't one where it's put them together and make them fall in love, so I appreciate that.
That's right. This could be like Super Crush Bros. Actually not a bad name. You might want to hang on to that.
Yeah, no, that one's good.
Let's think of some interesting like fail states or success conditions. So oftentimes in visual novels and dating games in particular, usually not in mystery type games, but in dating games, you are competing against the clock, essentially. You have a certain amount of time and you lose time with every day that you choose to be doing something else. And so that is time that you have not spent with this other person or practicing this other skill. And so it's kind of an opportunity cost that you are losing out on in a lot of these cases. Now, Mario's never been, well, I guess in his old games, he used to be concerned with time. Otherwise, he would very respectfully die once his time had expired at the top of the screen. But that's not something that I typically think of as being a massive concern of his. So what do we introduce that is a threat to the success of players?
Well, I think there's a classic one in the Mario canon that is your love interest could be stolen away by Bowser or Donkey Kong, Wario, one of the villain characters, and you only have enough time to practice like tennis or baseball or soccer or whatever to try to either woo your love interest or woo the villain in a way where it will cause them to abandon their plans.
And you have to go through all this extra trouble to go and like rescue them and then continue your relationship. Maybe they've kind of soured on you since then. So yeah, I guess that would be interesting, kind of like managing, keeping the villain away from your love interest while also spending time with them. So kind of splitting your attention between these two. And if you want to date more than one person, then that's splitting your attention in so many more ways. But anyways, that's all the time we have time for with that one. I say we just keep the name Super Crush Bros because it kind of fits.
Yeah, I think that's a really good one, and it's bring them together for love and not battle.
Yeah, exactly. Settle it and crush. Well, that's all that we have for today. If you would like to submit a pitch on one of our future shows, you can go to playwrightcast@gmail.com. You can go to playwrightcast.com/pitch, or you can tweet us at playwrightcast. In all of those instances, it is PLAYWRITECAST. And we'd also like to give a big shout out to our musician friend, PROTODOME, who has supplied our theme song, that is Hello World, off of the album Blue Noise. Seek it out, and all of PROTODOME's work, because it is all genuinely excellent. And again, Neil, thank you for filling in for a very sick queue.
Well, My pleasure. Thanks for having me. I hope he feels better soon, and keep up the great work with the show.
Oh, thank you. I'm sure that by the time he's hearing this, he will be fully recovered and will be delivering more city sim building games to us soon. So anyways, that's it for today. To take us out today, I'm going to deliver a miniature pitch. And I guess what I want to deliver today is a game where you play a minister trying to wed as many people as possible within a given period of time, like Crazy Taxi. Like, all right, we'll see you next week.